Now, as we know, 32-year-old Nick Reiner has been formally charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the apparent stabbing deaths of his parents, renowned director Rob Reiner and photographer and producer Michelle Singer Reiner, who were found dead in their Los Angeles home back on December 14th.
The industry feels frozen in a way Hollywood hasn't known for decades. Not since the golden legends left their mark has there been this kind of shock. But this time, it's different. It isn't only sadness, it's a chill spreading across studio lots and sound stages. When word surfaced about that quiet home in Brentwood, everyone expected the usual cycle: a polished statement, careful PR language, and then silence. But nobody saw what came next. Tom Cruise stepped forward without warning, cutting through his packed filming schedule to speak. This wasn't a rehearsed press move. It was raw and personal. Cruise, famous for guarding his private life like a vault, suddenly broke his silence. The moment landed like thunder. No publicist, no red carpet timing. He spoke plainly, saying the truth about what really happened with Rob and Michelle Reiner was something he had to share. It was a promise he felt he owed to the man who helped shape his rise during the defining moments of his career. Now, what Tom has shared with trusted colleagues and legitimate sources reveals something far deeper than early reports suggested. Anyone who remembers the early 90s knows what Tom and Rob Reiner created together, one of the greatest courtroom dramas ever made. But Cruise isn't talking about awards or box office numbers. He's talking about Rob Reiner, the person, the man behind the scenes, a mentor who felt like family, the same man who carried a heavy private weight for years about his son, Nick. This isn't Hollywood gossip. It's personal, and it's shaking all.
And this comes as there is footage that has surfaced that's been released of apparently Nick allegedly walking alone at a gas station close to the Reiner family home a little after midnight on that Sunday. There's also apparently footage of him allegedly in a convenience store right before his arrest as well. By the way, I will tell you, I think his apparent demeanor in that footage, assuming it's him, could be critical in a potential defense, which I'll talk about more in a minute.
Tom's voice, once known for its relentless energy, has lost its familiar spark. Those close to him describe it now as distant and heavy, as if the weight of what he's learning has aged him overnight. This isn't just grief over a legendary filmmaker. It's the sound of someone watching a family he's known for decades begin to unravel in real time. According to people who were with him that night, December 14th, Tom was deep into a late-night production meeting when his phone buzzed. On the line was a longtime contact from Los Angeles law enforcement, someone he's trusted since his earliest filming days in the city. When the call came through, everything shifted. 2 names were spoken, Rob and Michelle, and then silence followed. What came next left Tom frozen. He didn't speak for many minutes. He simply stood there staring out at the glowing city skyline, the same Hollywood landscape Rob Reiner once helped define. The official statement later described the scene in cold, clinical terms, calling it a domestic incident involving sharp force trauma. But insiders say that language barely touched the emotional devastation investigators encountered. And this is where Tom's account takes a darker turn. His revelation isn't only about what happened, but what led up to it. He's admitted that he knew about growing tension between Nick and his parents months earlier. During a private dinner this year, Rob grew unusually quiet when the conversation turned to his children, a rare shift for someone always larger than life. That silence, Tom now believes, was a warning. He recalls Rob softly admitting that the cycle was becoming harder to break, a reference to Nick's long struggle with addiction and the resentment building around it. It was no longer rebellion. It had become something far more painful. Tom says this tragedy wasn't sudden. It was the result of months, maybe years of pressure. And what breaks him most is the belief that everyone, himself included, respected the family's privacy so deeply that no one stepped in when it might have mattered most.
What we haven't discussed yet are the potential defenses to be on the lookout here. Because as we go through this evidence, you do have to wonder, is this a slam dunk case for the prosecution or not? That is what we want to go through.
Rob's work was always filled with hope and meaning. His scripts for The American President and Misery became classics. But behind those stories, Tom says, the family home had grown tense and uneasy. Just weeks before everything happened, Rob sent Tom a brief, reflective message about the cost of legacy. At the time, Tom didn't think much of it. Now, he sees it as a quiet cry for help, a subtle admission that things were slipping beyond Rob's control. Then came the moment no one could process: Nick Reiner's arrest. The charges stunned Hollywood and rippled through the entire A-list circle. Tom was the first to point out the cruel irony. The man who gave cinema his most famous courtroom line, "You can't handle the truth," ended up facing the truth inside his own home that was unbearable. Investigators remained tight-lipped about the details of the sharp force injuries, but through Tom's private conversations, a darker picture is emerging. What they described wasn't fast or random. It was chaotic, drawn out, and deeply personal. There were no signs of forced entry, no break-in, no theft. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It felt targeted, a complete betrayal of trust. These were the people who had given Nick every chance, every resource, and constant support behind closed doors. Tom's been clear about one thing: he's not buying the narrative taking shape. Nick's defense team, led by Alan Jackson, is expected to focus on mental health and the pressure of the Hollywood spotlight. Tom rejects that approach, saying Rob Reiner would never have wanted a polished excuse. Rob would have wanted only one thing: justice, no matter how painful for those left behind. What hits Tom hardest is his description of Michelle Singer. While the public knew Rob, Tom knew the partnership that fueled his creativity. He says Michelle was the rhythm to Rob's melody. Learning that she was hurt with the same intensity changed everything. It turned the story from tragic loss to betrayal. Tom has revealed Michelle had long been the peacekeeper, stepping between Nick and his father. She protected Rob's fragile health and shielded him from stress. Being caught in the same violent act tells Tom this wasn't an accident, but something deliberate. That's why Tom believes the January 7th trial will be one of the most emotional legal moments in state history. As more details surface, one truth is clear: Hollywood's silence wasn't just respect. It was fear of how close this tragedy truly was. It forced many to confront realities they had long avoided, reminding them that fame offers no shield when families begin to break completely, publicly.
And to understand potential defenses, we have to go through what we know right now. Like, for example, it has been reported that the death certificates for this couple indicate that they died just within minutes of sustaining, quote, multiple sharp force injuries inflicted with a knife by another.
Tom is now urging Hollywood to take a hard look at how it handles private family tragedies, the kind that get quietly buried behind fame and discretion. He's calling for a serious reevaluation of how the industry supports its own when the spotlight fades and real pain begins. He's remained in close contact with Rob and Michelle's sons, Roy and Jake Reiner, who are said to be trapped in overwhelming grief. Friends describe them as barely able to speak, still struggling to understand how their own brother ended up behind bars in Los Angeles County. It goes beyond disbelief. It's heartbreak on a scale few can imagine. For Tom, the shock isn't only about losing Rob and Michelle. It's the brutal realization that the so-called Brentwood bubble never truly existed. The belief that fame, money, or legacy could shield anyone from tragedy has been completely shattered. Even Hollywood's most admired figures couldn't escape a danger that had been quietly growing inside their own home. Tom says what breaks people the most is his final conversation with Rob. They were discussing a retrospective film project meant to celebrate Rob's career. During that talk, Rob said something that now haunts Tom. He said the stories we tell on screen feel easy because we control the ending, but real life is the only script that truly scares him. At the time, it sounded like thoughtful reflection. By the next morning, Tom understood what Rob meant, and the realization hit like a punch to the chest. Tom has vowed to attend the January trial, not as a bystander, but as someone standing up for his mentor's legacy, making sure Rob's name isn't swallowed by the crimes of his son. What makes this even heavier is what investigators later confirmed. Before Nick Reiner's arrest, he was reportedly moving through Los Angeles for hours. Tom says what chills him most isn't just what happened, but knowing Nick was wandering the city while his parents' home remained silent, the streets glowing while the truth waited. That image is something Tom says he'll never shake. This wasn't impulsive, it wasn't sudden rage, It was planned, cold, and deliberate. Whoever left that Brentwood home didn't flee in panic. They walked away from chaos. When Tom says everyone is in shock, he isn't exaggerating. He's hinting at evidence that hasn't even been shown in court yet. Tom believes it will prove Nick had been preparing to break away from his family long before the public ever sensed what was coming. To outsiders, it may look like another Hollywood tragedy, the kind that fills headlines briefly before fading. But for Tom Cruise, this cuts far deeper. To him, it marks the end of an entire Hollywood chapter. He's speaking now because once the trial begins, the story will be reshaped by legal strategies and sensational coverage. By stepping forward early, he wants to make sure the truth doesn't get buried in the noise. Tom says Rob and Michelle Reiner weren't victims of chance. They were victims of love taken too far. The unconditional love they had for their son became the very thing used against them. It's a brutal reminder of how love, when unchecked, can blind people to real danger. That message to the industry couldn't be clearer. The quiet struggles hidden behind polished images are often the most dangerous. And when the trial begins in January, the world will finally see the details and the evidence. But even now, Tom has painted a chilling picture. He says the injuries weren't random. They reflected an intensity pointing to a complete emotional break, or worse, resentment that had been building since Nick's early years. Tom has hinted investigators recovered recordings and messages from Nick himself, fragments that may explain how things reached this point. Authorities have uncovered communications showing a disturbing pattern, messages suggesting threats and manipulation towards Rob and Michelle. If presented in court, insiders believe the case will be nearly impossible to defend. This has moved far beyond fame or film. It's about the loss of a man who was like a spiritual father to Tom, and the painful realization that Hollywood, in all its power and glamour, may have unknowingly sheltered something truly dark within its walls.
That Rob was apparently found at 3:45 p.m., Michelle about a minute later. By the way, it was reported that the couple's daughter, Romy, was the one who found her father dead after the couple weren't responding to a scheduled massage therapist appointment.
Tom didn't break his silence for headlines or attention. He did it because he refuses to let Rob Reiner's name fade without the truth being known. The man who taught him discipline, compassion, and what it means to be decent doesn't deserve to be remembered through tragedy alone. Tom wants people to understand the full emotional weight of Rob's final chapter, believing that only by seeing it whole can the man who shaped him be properly honored. As the January 7th trial approaches, that truth Tom is guarding feels like the last thing protecting Rob Reiner's legacy. Whispers moving through Hollywood security circles and private staff describe a horrifying picture of that night. What they point to isn't just conflict, but betrayal in the most personal space imaginable. Sources say the confrontation unfolded inside the family's own bedroom or living area, the place they felt safest. That's what makes it so chilling. Tom has been shaken by one detail in particular. There were no defensive wounds on Rob, suggesting he may have been completely caught off guard, or worse, unable to fight back against his own son when it began. That realization has crushed Tom, confirming what he calls the boundless love theory, an idea once discussed by Aaron Sorkin, but now painfully real through Tom's eyes. He knows exactly how Hollywood works, how dealing with problems often turns into quietly ignoring them. Issues get softened, wrapped in polite statements, and slowly forgotten. This time, Tom refuses to let that happen. What eats at him most is how this tragedy casts a shadow over the heart of Castle Rock Entertainment, the company Rob built on the belief that stories should carry purpose and soul. The cruel irony that Rob's own story ended in such a cold, senseless way is something Tom can barely process. He's reached out to close peers, names like Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks, discussing how they can support Jake and Roy Reiner. The two are now left managing a massive estate while grappling with the heartbreak of their brother sitting in a cell, facing the most serious charges imaginable. Tom says this isn't only about what happened that night. It's about the emptiness left behind in Hollywood's creative and charitable circles. Rob Reiner wasn't just a director, he was a leader, a mentor, and a force for good, and his absence has left a void no one knows how to fill. As the January 7th trial approaches, Tom has quietly admitted he's seen internal records tied to Nick's past rehab efforts, attempts Rob personally oversaw and funded, with near military-level secrecy. When Nick stumbled, Rob was there again, ready with another safety net built from love and privilege. But now, Tom is questioning that system. He says Hollywood's habit of protecting its own, of covering mistakes instead of confronting them, may have played a devastating role by shielding Nick for consequences for far too long. Tom believes the industry helped create the illusion that accountability could always be delayed, that money and love could fix anything. Decades later, that illusion has finally shattered, forcing Hollywood to face truths it spent years avoiding. Rob never intended it, but through constant protection, he may have taught his son he was untouchable. Tom's account casts a darker light on December 14th, and it isn't only emotional, it's digital. He's revealed that investigators are now reviewing Nick's social media and private cloud files, where they reportedly found manifesto-like writings describing the burden of carrying the Reiner name.
Now, Nick was arrested hours later in the Exposition Park area near USC, the Santa Monica hotel room where Nick apparently checked into at around 4 a.m. Sunday the 14th, apparently using his own credit card, which is, by the way, potentially quite incriminating because he reportedly had been living in the back house of the Reiners property. So why check into this place at all times?
Those words alone have sent chills through everyone who's seen the reports. This wasn't confusion or a sudden loss of control. Investigators believe it was calculated and deliberate. Nick had reportedly convinced himself that the only way to truly find who he was meant erasing the very people who shaped him. That's the part mainstream coverage hasn't fully captured. This wasn't about greed or inheritance. Nick already had access to a large trust fund. Tom says the real motive was psychological. It was about identity, about wiping away a legacy instead of living up to it. Through all of this, Tom has been visibly broken. Those who've seen him recently say the trademark Mission Impossible confidence is gone, replaced by quiet grief and exhaustion. He's no longer speaking as a movie star, but as a man mourning someone who grounded him when fame threatened to consume him. Tom recalls that Rob Reiner was the one director who could slow him down, who forced him to feel a scene instead of simply performing it. Rob taught him subtlety, timing, and the power of restraint. He taught him the magic of the classic walk and talk. But beyond craft, Rob taught him something deeper: how to carry integrity in a town built on illusion. Facing this loss, Tom says the hardest truth to accept is that a man who stood for honesty, compassion, and loyalty was ultimately betrayed by his own family. That reality has left Tom questioning everything he believed about Hollywood's inner circle, about loyalty, legacy, and the cost of protecting your own. Nick's legal team, led by Alan Jackson, is reportedly pushing to keep the autopsy file sealed, citing privacy for surviving family members. Tom Cruise isn't staying silent. Through his own legal connections, he's pushing for full transparency. He believes the only way to prevent another powerful family from falling into the same tragedy is to reveal the raw, unfiltered truth. His message is clear. People need to see what addiction, resentment, and unchecked privilege can become when hidden behind gated estates. Tom refuses to soften the reality. He wants the world to confront the cost of silence, the kind that festers until it finally explodes. As the year winds down, Los Angeles feels heavy with tension. Everyone can sense it. Something major is approaching. This trial is no longer just about Nick Reiner. It's about Hollywood being forced to confront its own values. A reckoning for a culture that has long chosen image over intervention, comfort over confrontation. Tom is stepping forward, not for attention, but because he believes he has nothing to gain and everything to lose. He doesn't need headlines or drama. What he's demanding is truth, painful and unfiltered. He's also addressed the quiet rumors surrounding Rob Reiner's final months. Before everything happened, whispers circulated that Rob's health was declining, strained by the emotional weight of trying to hold his family together. Tom has confirmed that while Rob was physically weakened, he was still fighting, still showing the stubborn strength that defined his life. And Michelle, Tom says, was the glue, the one who kept the family steady when Rob couldn't. Losing them both at once wasn't just an attack on two people. It was the dismantling of the Reiner family's foundation, leaving a void no amount of legacy or fame can ever fill. Tom's anger is unmistakable when he speaks about what happened. Two people, defenseless and full of love, attacked after spending their lives creating safety for the very person who turned against them. In his voice, it isn't just outrage, it's heartbreak mixed with fury. The silence he's broken feels like a dam giving way, releasing truths Hollywood has kept buried behind its polished image. Tom isn't only talking about the Reiners, he's pointing to something deeper in the industry itself, the hidden cost of fame, the sons and daughters of legends growing up under crushing expectations, shaped by entitlement, pressure, and silence.
Well, it's been reported there was blood in the shower and the mattress of that room. He's currently being held at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility.
The most shocking part of Tom's message is this. He doesn't believe Nick Reiner is an isolated case. He sees him as the result of a broken system that fails to teach accountability while surrounding its own with luxury and pressure. During a recent private address to industry peers, Tom ended with a clear call to action. He said mourning isn't enough anymore. The industry has to change how it protects its families. He wants a memorial for Rob and Michelle Reiner that goes beyond honoring creative brilliance. He wants it to spark real conversations about family intervention, mental health, and emotional support inside Hollywood's high-pressure world. And Tom isn't just talking, he's backing it with his own money. Sources say he's already setting up a foundation in their names, focused on helping families navigate the dangerous mix of fame and personal struggle. His words hit hard when he said, "We can't just make movies about heroes anymore. We have to be them in our own homes." That line has spread quickly through the industry. As January 7th approaches, the trial is becoming less about whether it happened and more about why it was ever allowed to happen at all. Tom's revelations of evidence, including confirmed injuries, are setting the stage for what may become one of the most emotionally charged trials Hollywood has ever faced. The proceedings are expected to reveal toxicology reports, disturbing writings attributed to Nick Reiner, and an unfiltered timeline of what unfolded that night. But because of Tom Cruise, the story is already being framed through the lens of the victims, Rob and Michelle Reiner, not through excuses crafted by defense teams. According to multiple insiders, the weight of the evidence is overwhelming. Even members of the forensic unit have quietly confirmed, and Tom has echoed, that what happened inside the home lasted nearly 45 agonizing minutes. This wasn't quick or chaotic. It was drawn out and methodical. Investigators reportedly found Rob and Michelle in separate parts of the house, suggesting they were deliberately cornered and unable to reach one another. What shocks Tom most is imagining that timeline. The idea that Rob Reiner, who brought joy to millions, faced his final moments in fear inside the home he built with love. Tom has said this thought will haunt Hollywood forever, that someone so beloved could endure something so cruel behind closed doors. Now the industry waits for what comes next, because every time Tom speaks, another layer of the polished family image falls away, replaced by something painfully real. But Tom's goal isn't to tear down Rob's legacy, it's to show who Rob truly was, not untouchable or mythic, but a father, a husband, and a man doing his best under impossible pressure. Tom says Rob didn't fail out of weakness, but because fame, expectation, and emotional strain can overwhelm anyone. His son's choices, he believes, came from a darkness that grew unchecked, despite all the light his parents tried to give him.
And this all comes as it was also reported Nick had attended a party at Conan O'Brien's house the night before the killings, in which he allegedly went around asking strange questions to guests, got into this apparent weird interaction with actor Bill Hader, then had some sort of loud argument, potentially with his father at the party. His parents left shortly after.
As Los Angeles braces for the January trial, security around the county jail has doubled. The city can feel what's coming. This isn't just a courtroom battle, but a reckoning that could change how Hollywood confronts family, fame, and the pain hidden behind success. Concerns about Nick's safety in custody are growing, but insiders are even more unsettled by the constant leaks surrounding the case. At the center of it all stands Tom Cruise. He's turned his grief into purpose, making it his mission to ensure the truth about Rob and Michelle Reiner's final chapter isn't reduced to gossip or sound bites. For Tom, this isn't another Hollywood story. It's a final promise to someone he considered family. As January 7th approaches, legal experts say the case may become the most closely watched trial in California since O.J. Simpson. But Tom insists there's nothing entertaining about it. He's described it as a funeral that won't truly end until a verdict is read. Sources say he's told his inner circle he won't return to filming or professional commitments until he sees full accountability under the law. His once guarded silence has become a demand for justice, echoing through studios, production offices, and private screening rooms. Across Hollywood, people are looking inward at their own families and buried truths, and at the courage it takes to speak out. With the stakes this high, even tensions inside Castle Rock Entertainment are coming into view. Tom has shared how the atmosphere in Rob's final weeks felt strained and distracted. Rob frequently stepped out of meetings to take urgent calls from Michelle, all tied to Nick's behavior spiraling again. What hurts Tom most isn't just what happened, but how many people noticed the strain and chose silence. Hollywood is filled with people who admired Rob, yet no one intervened when the warning signs were visible. That silence is now the industry's shared burden. Tom has openly admitted his own silence made him part of the problem. That's why speaking now feels like penance. He isn't just telling a story, he's owning a collective failure. And he's revealed one final chilling detail that stunned even investigators. The multiple sharp force injuries mentioned in early reports weren't caused by an outside weapon. They were inflicted using a common household item. That detail alone sends a shock through everyone who hears it. It turns a distant tragedy into something deeply intimate, a betrayal rooted in the familiar. Tom emphasizes this point deliberately. He wants people to grasp the emotional weight of it, how something ordinary became an instrument of unimaginable pain.
Source told People, quote, Nick was freaking everyone out, acting crazy, kept asking people if they were famous. I will say family friends have reportedly said the fight was overblown.
It underscores how personal the act truly was. Investigators describe it as a sudden emotional eruption followed by cold, deliberate behavior. Tom has shared that police found signs Nick attempted to clean the scene, awkward, panicked efforts that suggest a brief moment of realization before logic gave way to a calculated plan to leave. The January trial is expected to introduce testimony from people who have never spoken publicly. Tom has hinted that several former household staff members, people who worked closely with the family for years, have come forward. Their accounts reportedly describe long-standing tension and emotional outbursts from Nick, often directed at Michelle. Even more disturbing, Tom says some of these employees were paid off or given generous severance packages to preserve the flawless image of the household. That admired dream family, Tom argues, reflects the real Brentwood, a world where image outweighs truth and silence costs less than honesty. By exposing it, he's forcing Hollywood to confront the price of appearances in a town that struggles with uncomfortable realities. As the story unfolds, Tom Cruise is no longer only a grieving friend. He's becoming a determined voice, focused on ensuring the jury on January 7th sees the full picture. He wants them to understand this wasn't simply a tragic family implosion. It was the deliberate destruction of two people who spent their lives protecting the person who ultimately turned against them. Tom broke his silence after watching the narrative shift toward familiar excuses, whispers of privilege, pressure, and sympathy. He refused to let the truth be buried beneath spin and legal maneuvering. By sharing verified details, he's made it far harder for the defense to portray Nick as a misunderstood victim of fame. Instead, he's redirected attention where it belongs, on Rob and Michelle, the true victims. Jake and Roy Reiner, still deep in mourning, have reportedly given Tom their blessing to continue speaking. They aren't ready to publicly condemn their brother, but they trust Tom to protect their parents' legacy with dignity. Tom has described his role as using his own fame as armor, standing between their memory and the tabloid frenzy already circling. He refuses to let this be reduced to another scandal. To him, it's a warning about family, silence, and what happens when warning signs are ignored. Yet the most haunting part of Tom's recent words isn't about the crime itself. It's the void left behind. He's spoken about how deeply this loss has shaken the architects of modern Hollywood. Rob Reiner, he says, wasn't just a filmmaker. He was the connective tissue, the steady bridge between generations, and his absence has left a silence no one knows how to fill.
This is a man with a serious history of substance abuse issues, that he's been open about that, talked about his struggles since he was 15.
Tom has revealed he's been holding urgent meetings with other legendary directors, not to discuss films, but to talk about protecting their families, their homes, and their peace of mind. These once untouchable figures are now confronting a terrifying truth. No level of success, money, or fame can shield anyone from danger growing inside their own walls. That is the real impact of what happened. The sobering reality Tom keeps repeating is that even the most powerful people are vulnerable to heartbreak, betrayal, and loss when it comes from those they love most. As the year comes to a close, the facts Tom Cruise has brought forward have transformed what began as a tragic headline into a full cultural reckoning, with new shocks emerging almost daily. Each day, another detail surfaces, pieces about the crime scene, the motive, and the hidden tensions inside that Brentwood home, all uncovered through Tom's relentless pursuit of truth. He isn't treating this like gossip, he's treating it as the most important mission of his life. For Tom, this isn't a movie set. There are no stunt doubles, no second takes, and no editing. This is real life. This is the final cut of Rob Reiner's story, and Tom is determined to make sure it ends not only in tragedy, but in justice. January 7th may deliver the official verdict, but for those listening closely, the emotional verdict is already clear. The truth, the very principle Rob Reiner taught Tom to protect, has become the force demanding accountability. Tom isn't just breaking his silence, he's breaking Hollywood's long-standing code of quiet loyalty, tearing down walls of secrecy to ensure a good man's name is honored properly. What Tom has done has shaken the industry to its core. This is more than a scandal. It's a story about loyalty, betrayal, and one man's refusal to let the truth be buried. He's made it clear this isn't about fame or headlines. It's about keeping a promise to a friend and completing the most personal mission he's ever faced. And just when it seemed nothing could be more disturbing, Tom revealed one final detail. According to him, the family shared a completely ordinary dinner just an hour before the violence began. No arguments, no tension, nothing out of place. That calm, that normalcy, is what Tom says haunts him the most. It was the quiet before the storm, the moment that proves how terrifying tragedy can be when everything seems normal until it isn't. Nick Reiner sat across from his parents, shared a meal, looked them in the eyes, all while allegedly knowing what he planned to do next. That eerie calm before chaos is what Tom finds most haunting. He says this wasn't a sudden breakdown or loss of control. It was a deliberate choice. And on January 7th, Nick Reiner will be forced to face that choice forever. The entertainment world will be watching, so will the public. Tom Cruise is making sure that when the courtroom lights come on, the truth is impossible to ignore. The silence that once protected the powerful is gone, replaced by a brutal honesty reshaping Hollywood forever. Rob Reiner's legacy is no longer just that of a legendary storyteller, but of a man whose real life ended in devastating tragedy, defined by love that refused to give up, even when it should have.
He was homeless, that he was in and out of rehab, that he and his father collaborated on a film known as Being Charlie, which was released in 2016, that's about a young man addicted to drugs and his difficult, combative relationship with his former actor father, who's cold and distant as he tries to recover. Rob, by the way, directed the film.
But Tom insists love won't be the only word people remember. Justice will stand behind it. The defense team's rumored strategy has become another flashpoint for him. He's learned they may attempt to shift blame towards Rob's parenting, suggesting his efforts to protect his son somehow enabled what happened. Tom calls that the ultimate betrayal. He refuses to let Rob's devotion be rewritten as a flaw. To counter that narrative, Tom has quietly shared verified accounts with trusted insiders, stories that reveal Rob Ignagi's extraordinary patience as a father. He's spoken about moments when Rob dropped everything, flying across the country on short notice to pull Nick out of dangerous situations or destructive environments. Rob never gave up, no matter how severe things became. Tom's latest revelations aren't just emotional, they're strategic, a preemptive stand to ensure no one twists this story into blaming the victims. He's determined that when the truth reaches the courtroom, the world will see Rob for who he really was, a man who gave everything to his family and whose legacy deserves justice. Tom is building a detailed record of a father who poured every ounce of himself into protecting his loved ones, only to face unimaginable betrayal. The picture he's painting isn't just of a filmmaker, but of a man who went beyond every expectation, someone who tried to love his son back to safety, only to be met with heartbreak inside his own home. The ripple effects are now spreading across Hollywood. As award season nears, the usual celebration feels hollow. Tom has reportedly urged studios and organizers to shift the tone away from glamour and towards reflection. He's pushing for moments that acknowledge the human cost behind creativity. To Tom, this isn't a scandal or a headline, it's a movement. He's turning grief into change, forcing an industry built on illusion to finally confront its own reality. The more details Tom shares, the clearer the picture becomes. The public is beginning to see Nick Reiner not as a misunderstood figure or a reflection of his father, but as Tom describes him, someone consumed by resentment, blinded by entitlement, and overtaken by anger. Tom's revelations are doing more than shocking Hollywood. They're breaking the spell of celebrity worship that often hides the truth behind famous names. By speaking openly, Tom is stripping away the polish and exposing the painful humanity beneath the Reiner story. A family wasn't destroyed by fame alone, but by silence and denial. Now, January 7th is circled on calendars across the industry. That date isn't just a trial, it's a judgment on the belief that money and status can shield anyone from heartbreak. As Tom prepares to sit in that courtroom, he does so with one purpose: to make sure Rob and Michelle Reiner are remembered not for how their lives ended, but for the love, brilliance, and humanity they shared. The depth of information Tom has revealed, from final messages to forensic details, has completely changed how this story is viewed. This is no longer tabloid speculation, it's a human record of love, loss, and betrayal, forcing people to question where the line between private pain and public truth truly lies. By breaking his silence, Tom has turned something Hollywood might have buried into a defining moment, a reminder of the cost of silence and the power of truth. The man may be gone, but through Tom's pursuit of honesty, Rob Reiner's legacy speaks louder than ever. The truth has found its voice. If this story moved you, keep the conversation going. Share your thoughts below and let others hear it too.